I nominate Mahogany L. Browne.
Tell me why.
Oh, first of all, she's legendary. I knew of her before I ever got to know her, and as I do now as a friend, as a sister. So I knew her work, which she is one of one. She is genre bending. She's in the YA space. She's in the poetry space. She's in the adult fiction space because she is a storyteller. And it's her heart that's on the page. But like, it could be those good books, but are they good people? Mo is eternally gracious, patient, insightful. She has a vision and she's just bringing people along. She took her residency at Lincoln Center commitment. And there are so many of us who can say we stood on a Lincoln Center stage because of Mahogany. I describe her and you imagine this person who is larger than life, and she is, but she also has a tender heart, and you don't always get that. Just a genius on the page and a genius on the stage.
Welcome to the Uplifters podcast. I'm your host, Aranza Savas, and today I am beyond excited to introduce you to the incomparable Mahogany L. Browne, who was nominated for our show by the equally extraordinary Deja Filia, who you met on an earlier episode a couple weeks ago. And while this is a conversation with Mahogany about her like bonkers awesome book, Chlorine Sky, which I just read and which is written entirely in verse, y'all. Anyway, we're going to talk about the book, but really what we're talking about is finding our voice, trusting our voice, and understanding that our service to those we care about doesn't need to be selfless. Really, this is about the courage to show up fully in a world that often asks us to play small, and the radical act of creating spaces where everyone else can do the same. Welcome to the Uplifters, Mahogany.
I'm so honored to be in the lineage of folks that you've been able to speak with already. I'm fans of them all. So I feel like, ooh, what a way to come into the day. Thank you.
Same. I listened to another interview you did in preparation for this, and one of the women talked about your work as feeling like a short film. And so my daughters and I, we have a practice of reading a poem every night at dinner to just sort of feel our way into what that brings up, because otherwise we end up just talking about the tactical every night. Who needs to get dropped off where, what teacher did what annoying thing. And it just sort of pushes us out of that. And so we were talking about it last night, and we realized that all of the art we like best, no matter how brief, gives us a full story. I felt like I was living with you in your world in Chlorine Sky.
Thank you. I'm glad. That's the point. The point is that, I mean, I don't know if you noticed, I didn't even introduce the protagonist's name until the very end, because I wanted that story to be the mirror. It was far easier for me to like allow folks to sit in even the passenger seat without feeling like I would never do that. That can't be me.
Yeah.
So I wanted them to see it for how I saw it. There are all these instances in our lives growing up, friendships from youth to yesterday. Tell us about ourselves. Tell us about what we're willing to endure, to belong, to be included, to feel love, and what we're willing to do to others to protect that.
It's an incredibly generous perspective, too, for you to see the world that way, because it doesn't other anyone.
Yeah. I think it took some time to get there. I had a lot of poems that were like, you did this to me. You made me feel this way. You bullied me. And once I went to maybe it was like a high school reunion 10 years out. And there was this girl from my English class. She was like, you remember that time you made this joke about me and my boyfriend? And it really hurt my feelings, and it stuck with me for a long time. And I do remember the joke. I don't remember it being that bad. There you go. The responsibility, right? The responsibility of, even if I didn't mean to, I hurt someone's feelings. So we never know how we show up in other people's worlds. And that was a clear light switch on for me that, oh, my perspective is also unreliable. My narration is also unreliable because I didn't oscillate and look through the landscape I just saw what was happening to me. I wanted to write that book in the sense that you never know, you can decide who's who, but like you're both.
Mm-hmm.
You are both and.
We even see that in Sky, right? There's a moment where she isn't kind to someone else. And she says, I betrayed myself to be liked.
Yes. She betrayed her personal constitution. How many times have we done that? Or even if you can stop someone from making jokes about someone else and you just didn't. You didn't get in the way of it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing it now in our world today. If we look at the countries that we're allowing, we're just watching all of these genocides happen and we're like, I'm so sad. No, it's not so sad. What happens when you just stand up?
Well, it's like people keep saying now, if you wonder who you would have been.
Yes. We know who they would have been.
Look at who you're being now.
Yes. Yes.
And we sit around right now and we say like, I don't know, where's the threshold?
It gets incredibly difficult when you have to be accountable for your decision or inactivity, because that too is a decision.
Mm-hmm. It's self-protection, which you show a lot of empathy for and which I really appreciate, because it doesn't say you're off the hook. It just says it's understandable because you're a human.
Right.
Now, what are you going to do with that?
That's it. That's it. You're like, that's a synopsis of my life. Please blur my life.
Well,
what are you going to do with it?
What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, we're here now. So now what? I love it. My grandmother would say that growing up. Like, okay, you're mad. So now what? What else?
Uh-huh.
And you can only swing your arms to the sky for so long, or you can only bemoan for so long. Think of those friends that refuse to leave that partner who just isn't worthy of their time. And yet every Sunday brunch, they got something to say about them. And you get to the point where you're like, you are choosing this. Which one is it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there is a point, I'm like doing bicep curls as I say this, that we have to build the muscle through the complaint, through the frustration. We have to build the muscle to be brave enough to take action. We have to cry the tears to raise our awareness and our expectation that we deserve better.
Yeah. But just naming it is like, it's like a person who wants to go to therapy, but they journal only. One is required, but one works exceptionally well with the other.
And the reason we feel stuck is because we've only taken the first step and then we're like, nothing is changing.
Yeah, I named the thing. And it's like, yeah, you did. You named it with all the tools you had. But that's the thing about skill sets. We build them.
Mm-hmm.
We learn through learning different languages, how to be compassionate. I know I can't speak Spanish really fast. I've lived in New York City for 25 years. And I did 3 years of Spanish in high school. That's what I had. So when I go to the bodega, I know how to order whatever. But if I want to go live somewhere where that is the predominantly spoken language, I need to immerse myself in the learning of it and not just, happenstance my way around.
Uh-huh. A woman I interviewed last week talked about being in the toddlerhood of grief, right? And I'm in the toddlerhood of Spanish for sure. And the toddlerhood of grief and a lot of toddlerhoods. And I'm glad, like, toddlers need toddlerhood to learn how to really walk.
Right. But for you to acknowledge it means you're open to the learning. I love that. The toddlerhood. So good.
The toddlerhood, isn't that a good word? But I also think like, yes, it's a part of the process. And if all we ever learned how to do was toddle, we're going to feel stuck and victimized.
Yep.
Because then we're waiting for it. You talk about the bad relationship as the example. The relationship is no good. I don't feel good in this. I don't feel fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
We're just waiting for somebody else to say, let me take you out of this. Let me save you.
There it is. There it is.
But we have to save ourselves.
Yeah. Once you name it, you then have the onus put back on you. And that is scary. I get it. The scariest part is learning, no, I'm an adult. I have to make the rules. No one is making it for me. This is icky. Like, no one is making me go to the dentist. No one's making me do my yearly checkup. So the onus becomes on the person who is well aware that they are moving out of toddlerhood. They're like, I'm trying to grow up. I'm trying to manage this. But the mental health issue, what I can, I guess, be honest about is the scariest part is that I didn't grow up thinking that therapy was cool. If anything, you don't talk at all. It'll go away if you're quiet. Shh. And so I'm from the school of if I write it down, I'm not quiet. And if I share it, I'm not quiet. And that was great. That was a great start. But again, it still was just the childhood of that awakening. And if I stayed there for too long, then I would never know that I have ADHD, right? I was thinking that I was just busy, that I was just trying to do it all. No, I've been doing 10 things at a time because my ADHD will not let me
Do what?
Yeah, I can't just do one thing. And therapy helped me see it. Otherwise, I was like running in a circle, a hamster wheel of what did I do wrong? I have to make this right. I have to do this for you so that you know that I'm good. Whole time I'm disabling myself. I'm putting myself in harm's way. I'm losing sleep. I'm losing weight. I'm forgetting to take care of myself and go to the doctor, because I'm so busy trying to do the thing that I thought made me me. And shout out to poetry because it showed me the mirror and it gave me all the gems of like, oh, I thought that was cool. But that really was a defense mechanism. That was me trying to shield something.
Protective.
I was protecting myself. So once I take the thing that I found out in writing to this therapist, I realized, oh, I've been trying to be the adult since I was a child and not by choice. Because that's what happens when, you're growing up in a Reagan era in Northern California, where drugs have ravaged the neighborhood. Somebody has to be the boss. And if the adults are disabled, then you got to show up for yourself or you'll get dragged along in the undertow of it. But I wouldn't have known that. I would have thought I just write these really good stories.
Yeah.
Not that I'm still holding the young girl inside, afraid of who I am, if I'm worthy of being celebrated, if I'm worthy of being in a conversation with the likes of you and the lineage bringers that you had before me. Like, do I deserve to be here? Because everything around me said that I was going to die or be quiet or I'm only good enough if I'm of service.
Mm-hmm.
All dead ends.
Mm-hmm.
All dead ends because I never got to say who I was.
They're all very passive too. And silence is passive.
Yes.
And I grew up raised by my grandmother who lived through the Great Depression, and quiet girls were praised and rewarded.
Oh, yes.
Passiveness was the greatest virtue. And my grandmother is my hero and my heart. And I learned from her that the smaller you played, the more valuable you were.
For real. That was what? Why can't you be like her? Quiet like her, demure, silent. Wow. How much did you learn from your grandmother? Like my grandmothers are my matriarchs, they make me. And I learned that my service, my desire to be helpful comes from watching them carry everything. I realized how much they made me, how much of my strength comes from watching them. And even the way that I come to help others is because they needed help and nobody saw it, but I did. So now I'm going to help in ways that would make them proud. I wonder what you learned.
I learned the power of encouragement. My grandmother really believed in me, and not like, oh, you're so talented, but, oh, you're worthy. I mean, I also learned to hate my thighs and to play small. It all made me who I am. And I feel like you have not played small. You are playing very big. And so I want to know how you got there. I want to play bigger for that matter. I want us all to get to play bigger.
Yeah. I think I just bet on myself. I just kept betting on me. I refused to believe folks when they said I didn't belong or I shouldn't write about this, or I just refused to believe outside of my own body and my own voice what I was capable of. Usually if you tell me no, that's when it's a yes, actually. Like, I'm like, sure. Let me show you that I can write poems and I can have a daughter at 21 and stop my college career in my sophomore year and still go back, get a degree, get an MFA, earn a doctorate by honorary means. Like, no one thought that possible for poetry, not where I'm from. No one thought that possible. Lincoln Center's Inaugural Poet in Residence was a gift, but it was not the gift that I didn't deserve. I had been working in New York City, creating spaces for other poets, editing other poets on stage, on the page, carrying babies across the bridge when the lights go out in New York, which happens every 10 years or something silly.
A lot of babies are made those nights too.
I had to just make sure I was a part of the thing that I said I was going to do no matter what. And I wasn't waiting on anyone to say yes or no any longer. Because when I did, I felt so discouraged. I thought, well, if they can't see it, then it must not be there. Even though I feel it, I feel like I need to write this. I feel like if I don't write it, then who's going to write it for me? Because I know what happens when people write in my image and are not of me or from where I'm from. I know how flat I can sound, how indistinguishable my experiences can be. So I better write the truth now, write it myself before, someone speaks for me incorrectly.
Yeah. So I'm like trying to synthesize the lessons in this for myself and the rest of us.
Yeah.
The first one I wrote down was to embrace our moments of opposition. That refusal to believe is a bit of an oppositional response, right? We have to say, no, I'm going to trust myself. And I want to reinforce that in my daughters and in myself, that refusal. And yet, again, it's been perceived as not being ladylike or good. And then the second one I wrote down is importance. So when you talk about the importance of writing your own story, I talk about that as a strong why.
Yeah.
And that is you believing at your core that your work matters. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to do, especially if we have editors and you are an editor and you have been edited and you have gotten probably billions of pieces of feedback in the course of your life. A lot of it encouraging, a lot of it discouraging, I imagine. How do you choose what to listen to grow and what to say that's not for me?
Yeah, I love that. I choose to listen to the people who want me to succeed. And you can figure that out very quickly. If there's someone who's always finding the worst parts of you, not to say that those parts can't be strengthened, not to say that you don't have room to grow, but when someone is for you and they're telling you something that is constructive versus when someone is just critiquing you for funsies, just to make you small.
Or to make themselves sound smart.
But it's always to make you small because in relation, if you're small,
they're bigger.
I'm giant. I'm good. You're so busy trying to get on my level just to get my approval that feeds something here. And that was really the intent of me criticizing you. I didn't want you to be better, right? So you have to figure out who wants better for me. Where are they in the world? I would do a lot of work in like communal spaces with peers. And I believe in peer critique. I teach it when I'm doing workshops or having a class somewhere. I think it's important for you to be in conversation with the folks around you because that is how community is made. That's how you find your people. And I made it a point that even though we're peers, I can tell by your behavior if I'm someone you care about, if my work is something you care about, or if you're just trying to chop me at the knees to humble me, to put me in my place. And not everyone has the coof or tact to tell it to you, in a way that allows you to receive it and not, be shocked by, the power of it, not everybody works with the red edit pen like journalists do. I came from that world, so I want to be better. I want to do right. I want to do good. I want to be timeless. I want people to find Chlorine Sky the way I found Bluest Eye. And by no means is that my bluest eye. I'm working towards that, right? But what Bluest Eye did for me was it allowed me to see myself for the first time in print. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget the moment in the library, Martin Luther King Jr. Library in Sacramento, California. Will never forget. I was hiding out, crying in the stacks, weeping in the stacks because I felt like, I'm here. I'm not wrong. Wrong is not my name. Word to June Jordan. I am not wrong. So it felt good. Not just good, it felt home. So what I think we were starting with is, how do you keep the meat and cut the fat? And it's just about finding who your people are, who's in my corner, who do I read? And I'm like, oh, that's so good. Disha is one of my favorite reads. Her ability to write, keep joy, like she gets past it all in a way that is so, it's just so, it's beyond smart.
You're listening to the people who get what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like, to me, that's a whole other level of this.
Yes.
To be able to say, oh, that's not my person. And it's not just that they believe in me or that they want to make me better, but they get what I'm doing instead of giving me feedback for something that I was never trying to do anyway.
Right. Some people give great notes. They give great edits. And some people are editing you with their pen in mind. I don't use words like that. Why would you put that in my page? You know, like, so it's not even like anti-you. It's just they don't have the know-how to talk about or to see what you're trying to do outside of who they are in that same canon. They're like, if your poem should be good, get it closer to mine. Mm-hmm. Not, if your poem is going to be good, make it as whole as it can be. There's a difference. There's a difference. So I had to see who that was for myself. I had to know when I'm reading the notes that this person is not only amazing at what they do, because I've had the likes of everyone, Ocean and Terrence Hayes and Nicole Seeley and all these Cave Canem fellows that I've, worked with. I have the luck of being able to turn to those folks and say, can I bend your ear real quick? And we all have those people. The woman at the bookstore for the last 30 years, she knows some stuff, right? Mm-hmm. She's read that thing. Mm-hmm. Ask her what she thinks. I knew how to write poems because my grandmother, when she listened to me read them, she would either give me her full attention or she would do this, and I'm not playing. She loved Harlequin romance.
Wow.
And that's how I got, okay, if I can make her put the book down, I'm talking to her. That was one of my first readers. She got 300 Harlequin romance books. If I can peel her attention from that book, I'm on to something.
I love that as a success metric.
Yeah.
Like, do I capture attention in this? Is it being received or is it just noise?
Yes.
Because we don't need to add any more noise.
Am I bringing the poet? Am I bringing the poem or am I being the poet?
Ooh.
So are you telling me a truth or are you excited that you can hold the truth, so to speak? Like Colleen McElroy, an amazing professor via Cave Canem, rest in peace. One of her quotes when reading our poems was, are you writing the poem or are you in the way of the poem being written? And that's a real question we all get to ask ourselves. Are you writing the story or are you in the way of the story being written? Are you writing and editing? Because that sounds like you're in the way, right? Or are you just writing it down and then the edit will happen?
And is it ego and fear that most often get in the way of that?
I think so. Ego, fear, what you think should be said. A lot of, this isn't good. This is not what I meant. A lot of degradation on that page. This is not as good as. No one just writes the first banger. And if they do, it's because they've written a million poems already, right? But we're all still in our expert yoga hours. You gotta do a couple of hundred of those bad boys to be limber. How are you doing that in your poetry work? How are you doing that in your writing work?
How do you feel when you write something you like?
How do I feel?
Yeah, I'm sure I've written things you're like, that's so. What is the difference between the that's not there and yeah, this is...
I don't think I have it. I don't. All of it is...
Could be better.
Let's see how this goes. Because I feel like I'm writing at a rate of... I don't want to bring up the Hamilton musical, but when he's writing against time, I feel like that's me. I'm writing against time. Folks say, do you sleep? Or you put out something every year? Yeah, because I wasn't supposed to be here, And so I don't take any of these opportunities for granted. I am thankful to have another day to try and write it right. or at least write it real.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be okay with that.
Do you feel like you're still growing?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the funnest part, is that I don't feel like I've mastered anything. If anything, I'm an expert at knowing how to read a room. I'm intuitive to like what the room requires. I can feel the spark and the crackle. And then that comes from 13 years of hosting at the New Eurekan. New York City is not for the faint of hearts. And hosting 200 people in a room that only should be seating 120, and bringing up 5 to 7 poets a night, hour and a half, 2 hours of actual just words. And I have to make sure that those 200 people want to stay there. You got to know what the room needs. So someone comes up there with a poem about, losing, their child, a miscarriage, gun shooting. Someone comes up there about boyfriends being as bad as bagels. Someone comes up there with the importance of grandma's shawl. And I have to find the thread that connects all of those human stories without anyone losing hope for tomorrow. So that's one thing I got. I know how to do that. I have not mastered the page. It's still reading me, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
If I get another day.
How do you stay true to the stories you need to tell?
My favorite way to hear poems is to hear them in a room. The sonic editor is extremely helpful. Even my novel form stuff, I'm writing with the pen of a poet. So the language and the music and how it lands matters to me. I also have a partner who's an amazing reader. Most of my friends are poets or poetry lovers, which is crazy.
It's great.
When I think about it now, I laugh so hard. I'm like, wow, pretty vain, Mo. Pretty vain. It's like Poets Only Club.
You found your people.
Isn't
that all we're trying to do?
That's true. That's true. You're right. I'm not mad at it. I'm lucky. I'm lucky in that sense. Last night, I interviewed Aja Monet and Edwidge Denticott for Aja's book release. And in the back, we were just talking, and she started laughing at me. And I was like, oh, I'm talking like a poet again. Because she's the one that's always like, you talk like a poem. It's a lot. And I was like, I know, I can't help it. It just, even when I do a breath or a break, it feels like a line break. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. But having those be your friends, it's helpful because nonplussed. They're like, that was cool. Get another mimosa for us. That's great.
It's like they've learned the language of the density in your speech.
Yes.
That the breath, the pause, the word matters.
Yes.
And so that density, it's like a humid room, right? It's like once you're in it, you're like, this is fortifying. This is good for my skin.
Come on, poet. I see what you're doing.
But when it's new, it's like, wow, it's overwhelming and I can't breathe in here.
Yeah. Yep.
You're constantly creating these spaces for art and community. How much is it giving you and how much is it giving the people that you are encouraging and supporting?
I would say 50-50. I feel like I get as much out of those experiences as folks get from the opportunities that those experiences bring. Mm-hmm. I feel fed because there is a safe space to share thoughts and ideas. And I remember coming up, I didn't always feel like those spaces existed, especially for, newcomers and up and coming writers. So I love that feeling of we're creating something for folks to feel good about coming and sharing and learning and growing. Yeah, there'll be, amazing people there, a lot of heroes, but you are welcome. You're welcome to be here too. And how good that feels to know that you're welcome to walk in those rooms. I didn't feel that necessarily.
I love that answer because I think there is a misconception in our world that service must be selfless.
No.
And that's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable and it's not fair. And it's not what I felt like that used to do, that selflessness, it's a thankless job. You just do it anyway. That just allowed bad behavior to continue. That allowed people to think, we don't have to pay artists to be artists. When the pandemic proved, who would you be without the arts? When people had to sit home and look at themselves before therapists were, video ready, the arts were a large part of people's soothing method. What happens when you no longer have access to it? And so now you don't want to pay that poet for that haiku that you have now tattooed on your body that has brought you, like, has become a prayer and a mantra for your everydayness.
So as uplifters, we uplift.
Yeah.
What can we do to support you and your work in the world?
Follow me on Substack. I finally have my own place.
Substack.
Yes. Follow me on Substack. Buy, 2 books at a time, gift it to someone else and have a book club read, review it, have me in conversations with your favorite readers. Like, I love that. I love the invitation to like really discuss what we're doing and where it's going next and how we're in community together, even if we may not have met, because we absolutely must start moving with like-mindedness in mind. And when I say like-mindedness, I'm not talking about just what makes you happy and what makes me happy. I'm talking about how do we end this oppressive system, make sure that equality and liberation is absolutely available to us all.
I think we get that so directly from your answer to how you keep going. And it is with a strong sense of purpose and belief in the importance.
That's right.
And so if we have a shared belief that it is important, then we have a shared responsibility to keep it alive.
Mm-hmm. I would even go deeper and say, instead of a shared belief, I would like a shared mission, because the belief is the idea that it doesn't exist yet, and we exist. We exist, and we can and have fought against these terrors before. It is in our passiveness that we allowed folks to move for us instead of with us. And so now we must come back together, recalibrate, and accelerate. See? It was a poem. I didn't even mean to.
And your friends, I'm sure, would say, that's just mahogany.
There she goes.
Mahogany being mahogany.
So funny.
I am so grateful we crossed paths.
Thank you for making time. Thank you.
Thank you for all you're doing in the world. Oh.
And congratulations, the intergenerational household. We are mirroring each other.
Yeah.
So
we're lucky.
Take time for yourself.
Thank you. You too. I almost forgot my favorite question.
Okay.
Who do you want to nominate for the Uplifters?
Ooh, my nomination, I think. Can I do a drum roll as well?
Yes, please.
Mine is Hala Alian. She writes about the atrocities and the dreams deferred from love-torn relationships as a mother, author, curator, anthropologist, and psychologist. She is a cultural worker who remains a beacon of resilience to us all. I love how she does not muss or fuss over genre, which is to say, our stories belong everywhere.
My.
You're going to love her. You're going to love her.
I'm like, can we talk?
Let's call her now.
Right.
Three-way phone call. Let's do it.
Hey.
Party line.
Oh, do you remember the party line? We used to have one.
I know.
We like shared with the neighbor down the street.
So cute. Oh my.
So cute. Yeah. It's quaint. Quaint.
Back in the day. Look at us.
I'm like 95.
1995. That was a good year.
It was. We were trying to figure some things out back then.
I still had acid wash jeans, I had a great time in 1995. That was high school.
Was it? What year did you graduate?
95, January of 95 for the class of 94. I had to go back and finish that last semester, courtesy of my grandmother pulling me by the ear and being like, absolutely not.
Good job, Grandma.
When I say they saved me, baby.
Well, we have that in common too.
Yeah.
I moved out my senior year and went crazy and then had to come back and finish. So
it's like,
I know, we're here.
We did that.
I'm really glad for us.
Me too. Well done. Books are lucky because, we said yes.
That's right. We're going to keep saying yes too, and we'll keep learning from each other.
Period.
Thank you for listening to the Uplifters podcast. If you're getting a boost from these episodes, please share them with the Uplifters in your life and then Join us in conversation over at theuplifterspodcast.com. Head over to Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast and like, follow, and rate our show. It'll really help us connect with more uplifters, and it'll ensure you never miss one of these beautiful stories. Mwah! Big love.
Painted water sunshine with rosemary and thyme. Dwell in the perplexing, though you find it vexing. Toss a star and hover, be your own best lover. Relish in a new prime, plant a tree in springtime. Dance with idle hindsight, bring the sun to twilight. Lift you up, whoa. Lift you up, whoa. Lift you up, whoa. Lift you up. Lift you up, whoa. Lift you up, whoa. Lift you up, whoa. Lift you up.
Beautiful.
I cried. It's that little thing you did with your voice.
Right, in the pre-chorus, right?
I was like,
Mommy,
I had to cry
stop.
quietly.
Mommy, stop crying. You're disturbing the peace.